Hey everyone, you're listening to Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels for you while injecting our own commentary and cackling a lot. Sometimes we even learn things in front of you. This week, we're starting off with a Patreon shout-out. Amber T., you are descended from Juno, the queen bitch of Roman mythology. Juno was the divine protectress of the community and had her hands in everything from marriage and fertility to military might. Just like you, people associate her with loyalty. And she had style. She peacocked all over the place. If you want extra content, videos, shout-outs, gifts, and so much more, head to patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms podcast and sign up for as little as $5 a month. And now we've got our much anticipated recap of The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan. Here we go. Oh, hello, Erin.
Hello.
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 How are you?
Good. Normal.
Fabulous. Oh
Normal.
my gosh. Normal stuff going on over here.
Like what?
I guess. Oh, I don't know. I don't really have banter.
We were going to talk about our charity thing.
Oh, yeah. We do have that amazing
Friends.
fundraiser.
We didn't do a fundraiser in 2020 because we didn't want to ask for dollars.
Right.
It was weird. It was like everybody was having a hard time. It just seemed like
Yeah.
a weird time to be like, fundraiser.
Well, so many people are job insecure.
Yeah, that's what
It's
it just
still,
seemed like a weird
oof.
time. So anyway, we're doing a Patreon fundraiser. Last time we did it for the Yellow Hammer Fund. This
Yeah.
time we're doing it for AAPI Women Lead.
Yeah.
And if you go on the Patreon and you either join or you upgrade your dollars, we will double either your joining amount or your upgrade amount.
Yes. And just like last time, when you join, we double it. That's just straightforward. But if you increase, we don't just double the increase. Like if you go from 15 to 20, we don't increase the $5 increment. We're increasing the total amount. So you're netting a $40 donation. And I'm so excited. I love this charity. We've been following them on Instagram for a while, but they're so cool. It's an all women and former sex worker led organization. And their whole point is to boost the voices and political capital of self-identifying Asian American and Pacific Islander women, girls, and non-binary folks. So they're part of the I'm Ready movement. So they do, self-defense events and stuff like that. They do so much. Like when you go to their website, which is aapiwomenlead.org, I will confirm that and put it in the show notes. So just click.
I Googled it and it was the first thing that came up. So
Yeah.
I put it on our Twitter the other day and I just did a Goog and it was the first thing. So just Google it. Or Bing it if that's what you're into.
Or yeah, if you love a Bing instead of a Google.
Ask Jeeves about AAPI Women Lead. See what he
Yeah,
says.
they're wonderful. Yeah, I'm way excited about it. So join the Patreon and we'll give many more dollars than you give us to them.
Yeah, last time we did this, we raised like $2,000, $3,000,
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
It was crazy how much dollars it was.
$1,980, which was really, really incredible.
It would be nice if we could do that again. I know people are still very job insecure and it may not be as big this time.
Yeah,
but it would be cool.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this fundraiser simply because times are still really fucking tough for a lot of people. But, last time we helped all those uteri, and all those ladies who wanted to have a choice about their bodies and their lives and their reproductive freedoms. And this time we're trying to help the force of stemming the tide of anti-Asian grossness that unfortunately has been so prevalent during the COVID-19 pandemic, particularly. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, everybody. Stop being dicks.
Stop being dicks.
What the fuck?
Stop it.
Yeah. Don't attack Asian American women.
Mm-mm.
We don't like that.
We don't like it.
Yeah. And that is an understatement.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any banter at all, or should we just go right into Duke Who Didn't?
I'm so excited about Duke Who Didn't. I can't even tell you how excited I am about Duke Who Didn't. I love a Duke Who Didn't.
I also do. As you know, though, it took me a long time to get into this one. And I feel like this has happened to me with every Courtney Milan book we've done. It just takes me a long time to get into them. Then once I'm in, and it's fantastic. But I just couldn't get rolling on this one. And then you told me to listen to the audio, which I am not an audio book person usually, especially for the podcast, totally. Because then I can't take notes. My notes are highlights as I go through. But I listened to the audio of this one, and the audio is fantastic, like incredible. Like the narrator is so good.
Oh, yeah.
And I usually don't know anything about that. I'm like, audio narrator is audio narrator. It's all the same to me. It's whatever. This woman really stood out.
Mary Jane Wells is my actual idol. As far as, later on, if I do seriously pursue an audiobook narration career, Mary Jane Wells is like the standard. She is so incredible.
She was so good.
Oh my gosh. If I could bring the same level of personality and emotion to a non-historical that she does to a historical, like, oof. She's so good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's a really popular narrator too. So
this is a long way of what are you drinking that is so fancy? Melody is drinking the fanciest, tiniest coffee. My God,
I am
the frothiest, tiniest, smallest glass slipper of coffee right now.
I know. And if you're on the Patreon, you can see video of this tiniest, frothiest, cappuccinoist nonsense that I've got in my hand. Listen, Mother's Day was good to me. Michael Chen, my partner for life, I love him till the day I die, but some days I love him like an extra amount, And this year, Mother's Day was one of those days because he did get me at-home espresso machine situation that has actually changed my whole life. Like, first of all, I don't drink as many cups of coffee a day because I just love this. This is just all I need in the morning, and it's amazing. It came with a goddamn milk frother, and you should see the peaks that this thing can create on Costco soy milk or generic oat milk.
Stiff ones.
Holy fuck balls. This milk frother is a goddamned revelation. We've joined a cult. Mm-hmm. It is an espresso machine cult. I now have 6 sleeves of coffees, and it usually breaks down to $1 a coffee. Oh, God. I never need to go to a Starbucks again. I'll still frequent independent coffee stores when I can in the future of the world, right? Because independent, stores, got to do it. But my God.
I just wanted to make fun of your stupid tiny cup. That's all I wanted.
You can't make fun of me on this one. I'm sorry. It's just incroyable. Anyway. That's how they say it in the France.
I thought it was in Italy, espressos. You've got to say it in an Italy, not in a France.
Oh, I don't know how to say incredible in Italy. Uh-oh.
You're going to have to learn if you're going to keep being an espresso snob.
Fair. I'm not an espresso snob. That's the thing. That's probably, why I'm so easy.
You look like one. Anyway, so I listened to the audio of this book instead of reading it and highlighting it and doing notes. So this is partially me saying, wow, what a great audio of it.
Yes.
And partially me saying, I may or may not remember most of this book because I listened to it, and that's not how I learn.
Yeah, totally. Well, you said you went through it again today. I'm not worried about it.
I did a little flipperoo.
There you go. That's all you need. Mm-hmm. So we've got Chloe Fong.
Chloe Fong.
Chloe Fong has got a plan.
Yep.
She's got a list.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got 3 days to pull off the biggest challenge of her GD life. Because in 3 days, they are going to either make or break her father's dream of making the best sauce in the world and sticking it to the motherfuckers who took advantage of him earlier.
Whistles and whites. Is that right?
White and whistlers.
White and whistles. They were so mean to him. He had a sauce and they made a partnership with him, and then they stole his sauce, and then they took it, and then they kicked him out on his butt.
Yeah, and it's like
racistly as well.
Oh, the biggest racism. So much colonialist, abusive bullshit. So they met Mr. Fong. I don't remember his name because I think he's only referred to as Abba, but
I don't think he had a first name in the whole book.
I don't think so either. Okay, I'm glad I didn't. If I did, then sorry. But Mr. Fong was in Trinidad as an indentured servant because they escaped. He and Chloe escaped from the fall of the dynasty that came after the Taiping Rebellion.
You're doing really good.
No,
we got this.
No, it's okay. Actually, I know a little bit about this. For real, because so the Taiping Tianguo was the rebellion that happened after the Qing dynasty in I don't know, the 1850s or something like that. The only reason I know about this is because I took a worldwide feminism class at some point. And one of the most interesting things about this rebellion and the dynasty is the ways that they espoused to help women, and then the ways in which they mostly just hurt them in different ways, but also the same ways. That old chestnut.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, the other thing about this book that I think every person should buy and read because of it is Courtney Milan's absolutely incredible author's note at the end.
Oh, I didn't read it.
Oh my God. This author's note. She goes into the language. She goes into the way that she decided to name everyone.
I can't believe I read two fucking epilogues and not the author's note. I can't. I hate.
Well, that's the one thing about the Audible or the audiobooks that are bad. They usually don't read the author's notes.
Okay.
Yeah. But she goes into the history of the Hakka people. She goes into a lot of it. So and on her website, she has an entire food glossary that she couldn't fit into the author's note with pictures because she made a lot of the food that she talked about in here. There's pictures of her creations. Who is the person
that limited this author's note that was going to have a food glossary? I'm sorry.
I know. How dare they?
Hello, editor. What is your name? Where do you live?
Hello.
What is your deal?
How dare you?
How dare you?
I say. I think it might actually have more to do with the fact that they couldn't really put pictures in.
No. How dare? Who are you?
You're
person
right.
who owns the ink who wouldn't give her enough? I don't understand publishing. But where do you live? Well, how do I find you? That's how I feel.
That's right.
Okay, all right.
Well, you can find her incredible food glossary on her website and sign up for her newsletter and do all the things that you should do with Courtney Milan.
Ask
Goddamn
Jeeves
goddess
about it.
That's the one. But anyway, so why was I going into this?
Well, you started to tell us how the family had fled the bad situation. They were in Trinidad and Mr. Fong was an indentured servant. And then you went off on the thing about the dynasty and the rebellion. And then you went to the author's note. So I'm not sure which one you're trying to get back to, but that has been the progression.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love the flow chart you just created for me. I needed it.
I'm here for you.
You always are. Okay, so let's get back to the book. And then if I need to do more contextualizing, and I'm sure I'll think I need to later, I can.
So anyway, we got Chloe. She's making lists. She makes a lot of lists. The book likes to talk about it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You may be a little turned off by the amount that the book talks about the lists at the beginning. Just keep
at the first
charging forward.
You just have to keep going.
You just got to keep going. She is more than a list, eventually.
It doesn't seem that way at first.
Yeah. She's a perfectionist.
Yes.
She has a lot to do in 3 days because there's going to be this big festival in her town that is called Wedgeford. And the big festival has a bunch of people coming in that are tourists. And there's a big citywide game that happens. And then during this time, they're going to sell their pork buns and their sauce. And this is going to, and so this is a new sauce that her dad has made that's fuck whistles and white.
That's the one.
We're gonna make this is an even better double better sauce and we're going to sell it.
Yeah.
But she can't, Chloe, ma'am, she can't fucking do anything that she needs. She could have prepped her shit months ago. We're 3 days to midnight, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
D-Days in 3.
Uh-huh.
And she hasn't named the sauce. So she can't
Uh-huh.
make the labels, so she can't make the jars, so she can't put it into the jars. Ma'am!
I related to this so hard. So hard, Erin.
Just call
So
it
hard.
sauce and put a thing on it. I was just... If you need to rename it after the festival, go for it. I could not.
Honestly,
not.
we're very lucky that we came up with the title of this podcast so naturally, because if not, it never would have existed.
We? Sorry, I wanted to make it a thing like I named it, and then I couldn't commit to it. I couldn't commit to the bit. Sorry.
Okay, so anyway, all right, so she's got like a metric fuck ton to do, and she mostly can't do it because she has not named unnamed sauce.
Call it unnamed sauce. Call it that.
But anyway, the other reason that
you know
she's
how many
having like
movies
kind of a
are like
hard
filmed
time.
just being called Unnamed Matt Damon Project? Like you can just
True.
keep going. Mindy did that, and then she just called it the Mindy Project. It's not hard. Just call it unnamed
whoa.
sauce. It's fine.
I didn't
Sauce
know that.
Project. Yes.
I didn't know that. So here's the thing. The other reason that she can't really focus on anything is because the Wedgeford trials, which are also based on a real thing from a real town that hosted a real game, like that went back to ancient times. Yes! Ah, that author's note! It's the one time of year that she gets to see her childhood love, the man that she cannot think about anymore because he has not come back for 3 years. So she's like, I've been attempting not to think about him. I finally got to the point that sometimes I can cross off my list item that says think about him only once today, but usually I can't.
No, because you thought about him when you put him on the list, and then you think about him again and you cross him off. It's a self-defeating list. Anyway.
Wow, that's a really good point that I had not even considered.
As
Look
soon
at the
as
way
it
your
was
brain
written,
works,
I was
Erin.
like, no, you can't.
Your brain is so sexy.
Isn't it so hot?
Oh, I love it.
So smart. I'm such a hot genius all the time.
All right. So anyway, she's like, I'm not going to think about him. I'm not going to think about him. And then she hears a familiar voice say, Chloe. And she whirls around and she drops most of her sauce bottles and her
She's got
list.
all these sauce bottles. Clamor, clamor, clamor to the ground.
Clamor, clamor, crash, splash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, shatter is a sound I was attempting to come up with.
Good job.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, okay, so she looks at him. She looks over her shoulder and she says, he looked the way laughter sounded. How dare you, Courtney? How dare you? Be so good.
She has these lines that are so good.
Oh,
it was so good.
So good. Yeah. Okay. So then she looks at him and she's like, you. And he says, oh, I love the fact that, after all this time, you're still so informal with me, but you don't need to use my last name because he introduced himself as Jeremy Yu all those years ago. He's like, you can just call me Jeremy. And she's like, I was not calling you by your surname. I was saying you were just a generic pronoun. Generic pronoun. I don't even like you anymore. It's really cute. She's so mad.
Yes.
Yeah, and she knows that Yu isn't even his real name, she thinks to herself, which is important later. And then she looks down and she realizes that not only has she smashed all the sauce, but her precious list is now destroyed, covered in sauce. She can't even read most of the things.
Yeah, because she has her list is on the most newly invented. It's like she invented the clipboard, or somebody did.
That's right.
A lot of time is spent on the fact that there's a clipboard in this year, and
Yes.
I just remember that time that Tessa Dare had a game of like racquetball or something. And then at the end, she was like, I know there wasn't a racquetball.
Yeah.
Whatever. Or like that time that there was Halloween in the Midnight Manzanitas. And then at the end, the author was like, I know there wasn't no Halloweens. Like, I kind of wish we could have skipped all the clipboard stuff.
I mean, but here's the thing. This is our perspective. And do you remember that time when the last time we did a Courtney Milan book, the After We Fall, I think it's called book.
No. After We Fall was Sex Tree and Eggs.
Oh, how did I fuck that up?
Is it after the wedding?
After the wedding, I bet it is.
Is that the right? It's the where she's like
right.
forced to marry the guy at gunpoint or whatever.
Yes. Oh
Okay.
boy, that's a fun one. That's such a good book.
Hot.
Anyway, do you remember that time when we said, oh yeah, it's totally like Regency's or something, and there was an actual telegraph in it? So like that's our perspective, you know.
Also, it's not really Courtney Milan's style to like hand wave history, but not that it is the other two authors we mentioned, but I could have used less clipboard history. That's all I'm trying to say here. Anyway, so she's got sauce on her clipboard and he's like helping her clean it off and like he knows how important her lists are to her.
Wait, real quick. I'm so sorry. Yeah. So he gets down to pick up all the stuff before she can get there, and he's got like a handkerchief and he's pulling up the glass shards. And then it says, the sight of him on his knees before her, it brought to mind wicked things she'd only allowed herself to imagine before. Oh! The sexual tension in this book is at an 8 from the beginning, from both of their perspectives. It is fucking magic.
Yes, agreed.
And then he's like, yeah, so he has so much respect for her list and everything, but he says, she's like, this is a tragedy, basically. And he goes, you know, on the bright side, you can now put me on your list when you remake it.
Yeah. I'd like to be on the list.
I would
and
like
she's all
for
fluttery
you to...
and weird about it. And she's like, no, you're not you don't get to go on my list anymore.
You don't get to dictate my list. I make the lists for me.
I make lists for myself.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen you in 3 years. Jeremy,
You abandoner? You?
Yes.
You?
Yes.
I do love that it's basically like a teeny tiny who's on first moment.
Yes.
In this chapter. And
teeny.
Tiniest little one. Okay. So anyway, we switch to his perspective and we get like just a taste of how perfect he thinks she is.
Ugh.
Geez, he's like, I've thought about her in this exact gown so many times and like maybe not quite her in it, but like getting her out of it so many times. And the tassel earrings she always wears and the that goddamn freckle that he talks about on her neck.
Neck freckle. Like the descriptions of how both of these people looked were like so just well executed. And through each of their lenses. It was so good.
Yeah, it was so good. I mean, one of the things I really, really loved is that Courtney Milan is a master at this in general, and I think that more authors should take note of the way that she does this. But we find out that Chloe is full Chinese, and what's his name? Jeremy Yu is half Chinese. And we find that out because it's right after she says, like looking at him, or he looked the way that laughter sounded. Mm-hmm. And she says she looks at his face and she sees how similar they were in some ways, like even though he was half Chinese. And she talks about his wide nose and the fold of his eyes and his cheekbones and like just all this beautiful structural stuff that I think a lot of other authors do super wrong. And this was just fucking gorgeous.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, back to this. She's like, you can't make my list. I make my list. I do it for me. And then he says, I genuflect to the sovereignty of your list.
Hot.
And I would die for this hero.
I would get injured for this hero. I wouldn't die for him in the way that I would have died for our last hero, but I did love him so much.
I would throw myself in front of a carriage for this hero if I needed to. I fucking love this man. He's so funny.
I would also, if it only led to injury.
Fair.
No, I loved this hero.
Oh man, he's so good. He says that her list is sacred. And then he thinks to himself, like, he's there to court her.
May I wait one moment?
Do whatever the fuck you need to.
Listen, hey,
What's up?
I have a thing to say that just popped into my head. Listen, Melody.
Can't wait.
I do recall a book that we just did, the most recent book we did, where you were like, oh, just talk to each other. Why can't people just talk to each other? That's the only conflict in this book. And I'm nitpicking it because people just need to talk to each other. This book is people just need to talk to each other.
That's true. No, it is.
Keep throwing items in their own way to not talk to each other. Like,
kinda.
Yeah,
very similarly
that's
to
the
Flirting
thing.
with
But
Forever.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. When you
Mhm.
love a book,
I know.
you don't. Yeah. Anyway,
I know.
So
And
I'm
I
just
said
saying.
that in our last 2 episodes, didn't I?
But I didn't say it, and here I am.
No, and I completely agree with you. There's a lot of like, just shut the fuck up and let the other one talk. Or
Yes.
like, don't stop worrying about the
Why are we
deadline
playing
of this
games?
or the perception of that.
Yeah. Oof.
I know.
Anyway, okay.
Okay.
So.
Oh, hey, HBs. I don't know if you've heard, but we have a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you get over 150 bonus episodes, most of which include Erin, videos of regular episodes, author hangouts, and so much more. Do you want to hear Erin and I recap every single episode of Crash Landing on You? What about a little film called Psycho Stripper? Do you want more recaps of ridiculous Thanksgiving and other holiday books and movies? And how do you feel about Naima Simone and I recapping amazing reality TV? All of that and more is on the Patreon. There's so much content at your fingertips as soon as you sign up. Seriously, hours and hours. Anyway, it's patreon.com/Heaving Bosoms Podcast if you want to check it out. And of course, that link is in the show notes. Keep being a badass.
So then he thinks to himself, like, I'm here to marry this girl. Like, my whole point in being here is to court her. And yet I can't say things like, I respect the things are important to you. I'm such a clown that instead I say things like, I genuflect to the sovereignty of your list. Like, what the fuck is my problem?
That's hotter, Jeremy.
It's hotter. I mean, it's hotter when you know how into her he is.
Yes.
And so from her perspective, a lot of times, because, you know, his love language is teasing, which I also love.
Mm-hmm.
So from her perspective, she's like, he's just always making jokes about me. And it's cute and I like it, but like, he hasn't been here for 3 years. He obviously doesn't care about me. And so all the jokes that I used to think were him
flirting,
love languaging at me,
yeah,
is now like, I don't think
Mhm.
so. And I get that. That makes a lot of sense. Oh, we find out that 3 years ago, the last time he was here.
So
they
this
did-
is why.
Yeah.
This is why she thinks the jokes are, you know, him being not serious. Because 3 years ago, he leaned in to smooch her under like a gazebo or something after the Wedgeford trials.
Mhm.
And she put her hand on his chest and said, only you need to be serious. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do this if we're just going to mess around. You've got to be serious about me to do this. And then instead of being like, I am so serious about you that I'm
going to marry you
super
right
in
now.
love and I'm going to marry you. I can't wait. He was like, oh, okay, then never mind.
And then he
didn't come back for 3 years. So now, because like her whole thing was be serious and he couldn't, the jokes are falling a little flat. Today.
Yeah. I would think so. And the biggest reason that this happens is because he is the Duke of Lansing. And the Duke of Lansing owns their whole town. He owns all of their houses. He owns everything there. But the dukedom has sort of forgotten that they own this town over the years. So, like, they haven't, and nobody's paid rents in 53 years, all the things. And when he got there, he didn't want anybody to, like, bow and scrape and your grace him to death. He just wanted to be himself.
He was a kid, too.
He was
like 10 or 12 or something like that. And so he was trying to get away from all the bullshit and be anonymous.
But now 12 years on, or 10 years on, he hasn't told anybody. And he's like, I couldn't be serious about her right then because I have a hard time in my normal life with all of the racism and terribleness. And so how could I ask her to be a part of that life when I don't know how I can safely fit her into it?
And she doesn't know who I am. She's not making an informed decision.
Yes.
And she has her own life here in Wedgeford with her father and like the sauce business and stuff. And those are her dreams. And yeah, he can't make her choose.
I know. she's like, are you going to be serious? Like, have you done any self-reflection at all? Or like any self-improvement, I think she says. And then he's like, actually, I haven't. And he's like, I don't make lists, but if I did, I wouldn't have put it on there because I don't think that it's possible or something like that. Like, you should have made a list. And she's like, I wish that I could make your list. And then he gets this spur of the moment idea. And he's like, congratulations. I am here to grant your wish. You can absolutely make a list for me. I need a list for my aunt because she wants me to get married. And she says that I don't have anything. I don't have to have anything to do with it as long as I get her a list of like somebody I might be attracted to. And I've come to the conclusion that I will absolutely take a wife if she's like you. So I want you to make a list of your qualities to give to my aunt so she can pick me a wife.
What a ridiculously infuriating thing to do to a person. I don't understand. Because she rejected him 3 years ago because he wasn't serious about her. And now he's playing freaking games. This is me both saying fuck and frick in one sentence. He's playing games with her whole, I want a list of things that are like you but not like you. Stop it. Be serious. Have you become serious? Yes, I've become super serious. I'm here to marry you, Chloe. Book over. 20 pages.
Well, he still hasn't figured out how he's going to fit her into his life. And
this
part
is
of
a
that
bad
involves,
way. Making a list of her qualities so that he can marry someone just like her but not her is a bad way, Jeremy. It's bad.
No,
he's fucking with her.
Overall, I agree with you hard. However, there is a line in there that undercuts your premise, and that is that he knows that if he's like, she's rolling her eyes hard at me if you're not watching the video. He knows that if he were to say, I'm here to marry you, she would be like, hardy har fucking har. You haven't been here for 3 years. You obviously don't care about me. Stop making jokes at my expense and fuck off. And so he's like, I need her to convince herself that I would want to marry her. And so I'm going to have her make a list of all her qualities, good and bad, and tell her that I love them all. Is what he says to himself.
I get it, but it's a game. Just be like, Chloe, I'm here to get serious.
I hear you. I'm serious about you.
Yeah.
And your whole thing.
Your whole thing. I'm here to get serious about your whole thing.
Yeah.
I've spent 3 years trying to get serious. Yeah. Check me out.
Check me out. Here I am. I've done it.
Yep.
But he hasn't. So she refuses. And she's like, you couldn't even pay me to make that list. And he's like, actually, that's a great idea. I totally
I'll pay you
can.
to make that list.
And she keeps on saying no until they get to 10 whole pounds. Which
what does it mean?
It's probably like $500 or $1,000.
Here's the thing. We listen.
I forgot to look it up.
Yeah, but also Darcy, do you recall? Billions and billions of dollars. So this is probably like at least like I would say probably like $5 million, like at least like $500 million.
Yeah, probably, I bet it's about
based on previous research.
Yeah, indeed. Yes. Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
What isn't this like? This is what 1860 Schmerv, something like that.
It's around there, I would say. There's a telegraph, so it's around there.
It's also
a train. All right, everyone. So we know it's not 1813. Okay. History lovers out there.
When did trains happen? I feel like before then.
Know, but they have a telegraph and a train, Erin.
I'm going to go. Carry on.
Carry on. Erin's going to do a Google. Figure out when our trains happen
our trains.
Listen, the main line over the U.S. was built after the Civil War, so
1804, you bitch, is when trains were invented.
All right, when our telegraph
working railway steam locomotive was built in the UK in 1804, and this happens there in England during England times. So
it's right. There it's all England times, according to Heaving Bosoms. Ask when our telegraph happens.
When our telegraphs happen. I'm gonna I googled when are trains invented, and so I'm just gonna change.
Well, okay, but it has to be after 1804 regardless, because trains have to be like everywhere, like the train system.
But England isn't all that big.
England's pretty small, I've heard.
Yeah, 1830s for that telegraph.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Anyway, we're in like the 1840 or 60 schmervs.
I thought it was the 60 schmervs. I thought it
Hold
said
on.
60 schmervs.
I'm just going to go back. It always
Who's
says
listening to
beginning of the
this
book.
one? Whoa, laugh riot. Just us learning history in real time. Heaving Bosoms, where you can listen to two women learn about history in real time. What?
It's
What? No.
1891.
Was what?
This book, 1891 is where we are. Oh, we're so smart. All right.
Sixes are like nines, just flippity flopped.
That's the one. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay, so she's like, absolutely, you don't have any idea how much making this list is going to crush my whole soul.
But he does. That's the thing. He does. Anyway.
She's so mad.
Jeremy.
But she's like, I can't pass it up. That's too much money. And so she says that she requires a contract. And he says, yes, absolutely. And also make that the first thing on the list. I need a wife who insists I sign contracts. I love it. All right. So now she goes home to her house. Her dad is there. And he's like, go pay respects to Ame, her mother. And so she goes. And she does it the way he taught her, which is to light 2 incense sticks instead of the customary 1. What?
Sorry, you said incense.
I know. I'm just going to
honor
redo
her
it.
mother, and it was really funny to me.
It was
I'm sorry.
it was
It's
an
really like a
unfortunate
great
event.
ceremony that's very reverent.
Yeah,
and I'm
it was
sorry.
an unfortunate
But you did say incest, incense.
Something got caught in my throat at a very inopportune moment. I'm going
It
to
was
take a
very
drink
funny.
and try it again.
Anyway, she does like those 2 incense sticks to
She
honor
does.
her mother. And she talks to her at this little like kind of shrine thing that she
Yeah.
has. For
And
her.
this is
It's
where we
very
find
beautiful.
out most of the background about her mom, because after the Taiping Rebellion, the leader like opened things up to women because he was Hakka, which is where Chloe and her family descend from. And so since the Hakka people, in the author's note, actually, Courtney Milan explains it that like probably due to the fact that they were historically impoverished, like on a cultural level or like on the whole, their society and their ways of interacting with each other were way more egalitarian. And so this leader comes in and he had these very lofty goals of making China much more gender equal than it was during the previous dynasty. And like he was super anti-foot binding, which was really prevalent at the time. And he also, as shown in the book, opened up the imperial examinations so that women could like take the tests and do the thing and be a part of the government. Oh, and also the job that her mom has in here, the chancelloress of the winter
Oh,
department.
I didn't even notice her mom's job. She had a cool big
Yeah.
job.
She had
Oh,
a
I
cool
didn't
big
notice
job.
that.
She was like chancelloress of the winter department, I think it was called. And that's a real job. And that was the one position that a woman had in real life history.
That's pretty cool.
And that was a real department and all that shit, right? Yeah. So super, super cool.
And it just sounds really sexy. The chancelloress of the winter department.
I know.
Very
I-
sexy.
And no.
Yeah.
Anyway, so her dad always tells her stories about her mom and her little brother. And anytime she asks for stories about him,
Meaning
he always talks about himself in the third person. Oh, the mom's little brother. So her
mom's
uncle.
little brother. Yeah, not
Yes.
Chloe's little brother. Yeah.
Correct. And so he always talks about himself in the third person being like, oh, Baba was this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she knows way more about her mom and her little brother than she does about her dad. And it's just really sweet. So anyway, the mom was this big deal in the new regime. And I mean, we don't get into specifics in the actual book, but it seems like her husband was also a super big deal in the regime. And they were like part of the foundation of the original rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
So once the very charismatic leader died in, I think, like 1864 or something, the dudes from the old regime came back and they were like, nah, we're not doing this. You're not allowed to be in charge anymore. That was a Pyrrhic victory anyway. And the way that you took over killed like, I think 20 or 30 million people over the 10 years they fought. It was like bad.
That's a lot.
It's a metric fuck ton. Actually, I think this is the most devastating civil war in all of history that we know of. I'm pretty sure.
I hope so. Like
I know, right? Oof.
Whoa.
It's a bad. Yeah. So the dad sent her mom away with like all of the family jewelry.
You guys, listen, I just want to be clear.
Sorry.
The guy that she calls Baba is her uncle, is the little brother of the mom. Because now you're talking about dad as if it's not the dad. And like, it's a spoiler. It's the end of the book. But that guy is her uncle. Her dad has died as well as her mom. And he has raised her as his daughter. So she calls him dad and has believed her whole life that he's her dad. But that's not the case. So Melody is now talking about the parents it was actually not Mr. Fong, her dad, who's there. Okay.
Yes. Anyway, yeah. So he made her uncle dad, made the promise. Oh no, that sounds like incest too. That's not what I meant.
Her uncle dad, who asks her daily to light the incest incense. I'm so sorry.
Oh no!
How am I supposed to not say it? I know I'm trying to be very serious and very history right now, but you just keep setting them up for me to spike, and I can't not.
I'm a clown.
Anyways, all right, what were you saying about her uncle dad?
Now I can't even remember. Oh, on her deathbed, the man who was always taking care of her, who she refers to as Abba, made the promise that she would never go hungry, she would always be supported or something like that, and that she would live up to her name. And that's always been very confusing to Chloe because her name essentially translates to the sound feathers make, or the sound of feathers.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, feathers don't make a sound? And so, like, I don't know what that means.
And Chloe's not very quiet. She's a very, like,
she's very
go get 'em
assertive
sort of person.
Yeah. And so she's not meek as you might think like a more silent person could be. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way she thinks about it. Is like, I think I'm not what my mom wanted me to be. And that makes me a tiny bit sad. But also, I love her so much. Okay, so anyway, she and her dad chat about a lot of stuff, and they're like, she's really excited about this White and Whistler takeover that they're going to enact. And he's like, stop bragging before we get going because it's bad luck, and also eat more. You're too skinny.
Too skinny. Like, eat. There's a lot of great food descriptions in this book.
Oh my God. The food porn in here is incredible.
And they speak when they're alone the Hakka language, which also becomes fairly important.
Yes. Yeah. So they speak Hakka, and then Jeremy predominantly speaks Cantonese, but he can sort of follow Hakka a tiny bit and like say hi and bye and probably where's the bathroom.
It was just so refreshing to read this book after we read that match play book where it was like, I spent 2 months in Beijing, so I speak Korean. I was like, that's not how any of this works.
No.
It was very refreshing to see people struggling with different dialects, even if they are both Chinese or half Chinese. And the history was really interesting, and the different cultures within China was very interesting.
Completely. Yeah, it was so cool. All right. So anyway, so now she told her dad that Jeremy's here. She like sort of tried to casually drop it in there because she still needs to name unnamed sauce. And she's like, I can ask Jeremy because he's like, super British. And the dad's like, he's not that British. He's not British enough for you to like have to talk to him right now. Like, protect yourself, basically. And she's like, I'm just going to go and like meet up with him on the green. But she doesn't
It's totally fine. It's totally fine.
But on the way, she decides that she's going to give him her own proposition. Oh my God. Wait, did you love the scene with Andy? Like, just the way that he interacts with all the people in Wedgeford.
Yeah, he has these friends in Wedgeford. I don't know if they're going to get books or not, but he has like all these good friends who like don't know who he really is and like treat him normal. And it's just, he's got buddies there, which is kind of cool. And like, he hasn't seen them in a long time, and they don't care that he's been gone. They don't like, there's no ickiness at all.
Yeah.
It's just like right back to normal. And the friends are great in this book.
Yeah, and all of the friends usually make some sort of comment about how, the Duke who didn't, I think it's called the Duke good riddance, the fucking Duke all the time.
Yeah.
And Jeremy always plays along.
Yeah, because he's not around. He's not duking it up on the lands at all. He's just like completely absent. So they curse the Duke all the time for like owning their lands, but then doing nothing to improve them.
Right.
But he's also not collecting rent. So it's like,
Yeah, it's kind of a wash. But yeah, Jeremy's like, every time this happens, he's always like, fuck the fucking Duke and his stupid fucking Dukeness. and
everybody laughs. Yeah.
So funny. Okay. He hears her come up behind him and he's like telling Andy about an appointment he has with Miss Fong.
Mm-hmm.
And then Andy's like, oh, what is this appointment for? Like, what are you going to be doing the next couple of days? And he's like, I'm just going to bask in her magnificence for as long as she'll let me, knowing that she's standing back there. Oh, it's so cute.
Very cute.
So they go sit down to talk business. And she's like, I've got some things that I want to do, but first, I have a proposition for you.
This scene was so good. So
Thank
good.
you.
I loved this scene.
Tell me everything.
Well, she's like, okay, here's the deal. Is I'm a serious business lady and I'm very busy.
That's right.
And I would like for somebody to smooch me.
Yeah.
And I would like it to be you. And I would like it to be a business smooch.
Right.
So that I can know what smooching is like. And
That's
then it will be done. I would like a transactional business smooch.
That's right. She says that she's going to be busy for like the next decade or so.
She's
So
going to be
like,
too busy
she
to
just
smooch.
wants to get out of the way.
Would like to do it quick and dirty.
That's right. And one of the things she definitely says is like, but I need you to promise like not to despoil me.
Yeah.
Because she starts the whole thing off by being like, I know that you're here to seduce me. And it's really cute because he's like, I mean, kinda, I guess. Like, that's not how I would put it. And it's definitely lacking in a lot of nuance. But like, I suppose I'm here to seduce you in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, well, you can't despoil me. And he says, okay, well, let's put the smooch aside. You want insurances about what happens after the smooch.
Yes.
And so the compromise I will give to you is I will not despoil you unless you make a numbered plan before the event. Like if you design what happens, then I will consider despoiling you. And she's like, oh my gosh, he's like really taking this plan seriously, but also being cheeky. And it's everything I love about Jeremy. And oh no. and then she's like, okay, well, that's fine. Do you agree? And he goes, oh, it's like a 60% chance yes. And then she like withers into a husk. And she's like, oh God, only have I read this thing all wrong? And then he goes, and it's a 40% chance that I'll say yes, but I'll do it loudly.
She's so cute and funny.
It's like, yeah. And then they start talking about the list. And she's like,
is this when he starts smooching up on her hand?
oh yeah. We're
good,
getting
good.
there.
Okay, so now we're talking about the list. The list is boring.
And she's like, we're going to talk about physical stuff. We're going to talk about ambitions. We're going to talk about intellect. We'll talk like we'll do things in those sort of categories. And he's like, that's fine. But I also need to, you're leaving off like wants and dreams and fantasies. And those are very important. And I specifically want to know how they apply to you.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely need to go over that. And she's like, that's redundant because ambitions are basically dreams and wants and fantasies and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. Or is it the dry ambitions that really keep you up at night? And she goes, my ambitions are lofty. They are absolutely not dry. And
not dry.
He's like, okay. Would you say that right now you might be becoming, I don't know, the opposite of dry? Because that would be very interesting. And she goes, she's like, like, forget it. No, stop.
My ambitions are neither dry nor wet.
Now it's so like good. There's a hair over here. Oh no.
So then he's like playing with her hand.
So she's
like, no, I want to talk about it.
I know, but I'm just setting it up.
Okay.
That's all I'm doing. You get to talk about it. You get to do it.
Okay.
Because she's like, all right, but we also need a list of like, the differences, right? Doesn't she say that? And then he's like, no, I don't really need a list of differences or whatever. Oh no, she says no. That happens later because she says, all right, fine. You want a list? I'll make a list. I am prickly. I am
intimidating.
And like, there's one other thing. And he picks up her hand. And he starts talking about how she's not prickly, she's other things. And she's not the other thing, she's a really cute thing like determined or whatever. And then what is he doing, Erin?
He's got her hand in his hand. And
my
then
God.
he starts doing like a mouth times on her hand.
Oh my God.
And then he starts sucking on her pinky a little bit.
Oh my
just like a
God.
smidgen. And she's like,
Mm.
God, why are you? Stop it. And like gets her hand back. And she's like, we're just.
My favorite part of that whole thing, I'm so sorry, because he does that he does that smooch on her palm, and then he kisses the tip of her thumb and the tip of her index finger or something like that. And then she's like, what are you doing? And he says, oh, I'm kissing your palm. Am I not? Okay. If it's not obvious enough, I need to be more serious about it. And so he does the suck. So it's like a bantery suck.
It is
Erin.
a suck banter. A banter
it's like
suck.
the suckiest banter.
But she does, when she gets like too horned up with this, she does take her hand back.
That's the one. Yeah.
And then he's very like, listen, if I'm gonna do a smooch on you, we gotta rev it up to the smooch times. And she's like, no, I want a dry transactional smooch. And he's like, well, that's not a smooch. I'm not gonna teach you a smooch if it's not that's not what a smooch is. That's not what kissing is.
And also, you're going to be really disappointed if that's the case, and neither of us want to be disappointed.
No.
And then she goes, I actually want to be very disappointed. Why do you think I chose you? It's the
I don't like
best.
you. So good. It was a hot.
Oh, it's the hottest.
This is also, I think, the conversation where she tells him to stick his head in the river and drink.
And that's the
and
second thing he wants on the list.
Adds that to the list, that he wants a woman who will tell him specifically to stick his head
She
in
has
the
to,
river and drink.
at least once in her life. She has to tell him that. That's the thing that's on the list. Oh my God. Okay. And then the other thing that happens in this scene is that as she's describing this kiss, she's like, this is the proposition I'm giving you, and I want you to know that you will have to make no effort to secure this result. Like, this is the agreement we have. You don't have to do anything leading up to it. We're just kissing. And then he goes, oh, Chloe. And he like says her name a couple of times, and he's so earnest. And he says, it's obviously your choice. Like, it's always your choice. But please, please don't kiss a man who doesn't give you any effort, or who doesn't think you deserve effort. Oh my God. Oh. Then later on, he tells her that she's always worth the effort at some point. Jesus. This scene. Holy balls.
This is the best scene in the book.
It might be.
It is.
It's really, really excellent. So then after this, she goes, okay, so you said I'm not hard and I'm not prickly, but you didn't argue about intimidating. And he's like, no, I didn't. Because
that goes
I
on the list.
need my wife to be intimidating. I want her enemies to fall before her. So my wife absolutely needs to be intimidating. And it is a fucking swoon.
Yeah.
And she's like, this was supposed to be something that he was like, I want her to have black hair. I want her to wear spectacles or whatever. And now he's fucking with my heart. Like, this isn't fair. Oh. All right. So now she goes and talks to her best friend, because her best friend needs a name because they have to make labels tonight. And she wants 100 more jars than Chloe is prepared to give her. And she needed more jars 2 weeks ago because everybody's already been wanting to buy the sauce, and they're just leaving money on the table.
She's wasting her time on kissing lessons. I just can't.
She's not. Take it back. She's not wasting any time on those kissing lessons.
Feel like she's just really procrastinating herself into a corner here, and it was very high anxiety for Erin.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. But anyway, Naomi at the end of this conversation is like, I want 100 extra jars, and I want you to hide a widge lot, which is like a fraud that they do. They hide like fake things for the trial. Not a big deal, except that it's
the big game
later.
It's like a capture the flag sort of a thing. It's like the big game for Wedgeford is like Wedgeford divides into wedges, and they hide these things in the thing.
And then the group that gets the real wedge is the winner. Good, congratulations.
Yes.
All right. The precocious child, Mr. Wilderschmampshire.
There is a Hi, good morning. Hi. Hello, friends. There is a precocious child in this book. However, because neither our hero nor our heroine is responsible for raising the precocious child, it didn't bother me very much.
Yeah.
He's a character in the book and not I don't know. I didn't find him that annoying.
He's not a plot point. No, you know what? He is a vehicle.
But he is kind of. Yeah, because you're about to say it.
Yeah, he's a vehicle for very, very necessary
Position?
Thank you. Wow, what the fuck happened in my brain?
Well, and what I was going to say,
exposition.
yeah, so he's a great way to explain what's going on with the trials. He's a great way to explain what happened when Jeremy first came to Wedgeford when he was a child. And he's a great stand-in for Jeremy. Like, Jeremy watching this child go through his first trial is very illuminating for him in his own self-reflection, because he's a rich kid. He came here. There are certain rites of passage that you go through, like getting assigned to a local to do the trials, getting pinned with a nickname, which Jeremy's is
Posh
Jim. Yeah. You know, so like the kid wants a nickname and he wants to be assigned to somebody. And when Jeremy first came to Wedgeford, he was assigned to Chloe.
This is how they met. This was their meet cute.
That's how they met. And that's why I liked the child, because it helped. Yeah. He helped illuminate the history of the main characters.
Couple. Yeah, right. Exactly. And it says this later on at some point. So he met her when he was assigned to her, and she fell for him because she always had a hard time making friends with like the kids. She was always a little bit too serious, and she was a little awkward. She didn't know how to join in the games. And so Jeremy just treated her like she was always a part of the games. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, do you want to come play with us? And she froze because she just got really panicky. And so he looked at her, because all the other kids were like, oh, no, she never plays. Don't even worry about it. And he looked at her and he goes, if you want to play with us, just nod. And so she just nodded. And then she was like, oh, he gets me. He sees me. He helps me. He greases the way for like life to be better. And it's the best. Okay. So then Chloe comes out and somebody starts teasing her about her list and like sort of plays keep away with her list and stuff. And Jeremy's like, I need to go fix this. So he goes over and he gets the thing for her, and he's like, hey, you don't tease her about the list. And everybody's like, you tease her the most. And he's like, not like this. I do it nicely and I, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Chloe shouts, and I like it when he teases me. That's the difference. So then as they leave, because Barry's like, okay, so when do I get a chance to like tease you or whatever? And he's like, I don't know. You're going to have to wait for her to put you on your list. And I'm actually on the list for the next hour. So like we have to go. It's fucking adorable. So as they like leave, because he's carrying the giant basket with the fraud Widgelot in it.
Well, because Naomi asked her to hide one of the Widgelots.
Yeah, the fake ones. The fake ones.
Fake Widgelot.
Yeah. And so as they leave, he's teasing her. So he's teasing her about how he teases her, and he's teasing her about loving the fact that he teases her. And it was just like my catnip all wrapped in one. Like it was good. It was this meta tease that made my heart melt.
It was good.
It was so good.
Hey, HBs. I started an Etsy store. Did you know? Right now, it's full of all the St. Vincent items you need, because St. Vincent is thoughtful and cozy all year round. We've got a book sleeve to keep your books, planners, e-readers, or really anything else safe when you're on the go. The inside is fuzzy, and they feel so incredibly lush in your hands. I went round and round with the manufacturers to make sure I had just the right thickness. Those feature art of St. Vincent and Evie during their carriage adventure that was painted by the amazing Mayara Faraz on one side, and then I created a St. Vincent Would Always wreath on the other side that has a bunch of little Easter egg items in it. There's a St. Vincent Would Always warm brick enamel pin. It's like, if you know, you know. I designed a special edition Marriage of Convenience candle that is specific to Devil in Winter, with the help of HB Jen at Post Pouring Company. It combines dark amber for St. Vincent and rosewood for Evie, and it smells so delicious. It's hard to even wrap my brain around. So if you want to treat yourself or be the St. Vincent you want to see in the world by getting a care package for a friend, check out our Etsy store. The link is in the show notes.
So now they sit down because she's really overwhelmed. And she's like, I have all this extra work. I have to name unnamed sauce and I can't do anything until she tells him about the predicament. She tells him about the extra 100 jars. Like, it's a bad. And he sort of helps her talk through and prioritize all this shit. So as they're going through, they're making the list. He's like, okay, so we got to name it. We got to fill them. We got to do this. We got to do that. And you've got a really long list here, but we're going to be kissing like often for the next few days. And that's not even on here. So we're going to need to be really efficient about it. And she just like, she blushes so hard. It's beautiful.
When he starts talking about helping her with her list, like, I can help with this. I can help with that. And she's like very uncomfortable with him helping her.
She's like, you don't even know how to do manual labor.
Oh my God.
You're so posh.
The amount of times this book suggests that putting sauce in jars is like super difficult.
Taxing.
And I understand that it might be super difficult and taxing physically, you know, for her father who has arthritis. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just doing that over and over can hurt your hands and your back and, you know. But the amount of times a person in the Fong family, meaning Chloe or Mr., looks at Jeremy as like, you've never even tried to fill a jar with a sauce. How dare you? It's so strange to me. It's not that hard.
No, I
know.
The
man has put cream into coffee before. I'm sure the man has poured a thing into another thing successfully.
Right. They make it sound like incredibly complicated.
Yes.
When it's really just like repetitive and hard on the body. You know? It's really fun. Yeah. And this is also really cute because he's like, I can absolutely help you. Because, you know, you need things carried to and fro. I can carry two. I can even carry fro. She's like, I doubt it.
It's cute.
It's so cute. So anyway, during this whole thing, she says that we should put this on the list. You don't want a wife. What?
I'm sneezing.
Oh!
I'm so sorry. I muted myself to sneeze.
I was looking down, and so all I saw was you like pop up into the camera, and I was like, what does she need?
Sneeze times. I needed time for sneeze. Sorry, audio listeners.
You're fine. And you're welcome, video listeners. Frankly, that was great. So she's like, one thing we need to put on the list is that I know you don't want a lady who overpromises herself and then panics when she's got too much on her list. And oh my gosh, does he like? Oh wait, maybe this is hot. This is when he kisses her palm. Oops.
Damn it! I knew it. I knew it was maybe later. Sorry, friends.
Sorry, everyone.
This is the most bestest scene in the book.
Yeah. So he does do that palm kiss and finger suck the bantery suck that we talked about before. Mm-hmm. And then he says, by the way, I do want a wife who overpromises and panics. If she's like you.
It's the best.
I can't. So now they go have lunch with Dad.
Oh, God, yes.
He super spices.
Oh, my God. Of his food. Uncle Dad giving him the pink bowl just full of the most spices so that just like mucuses comes out of all of his holes. And he can't. And he knows it's a test.
Oh, yeah.
He knows that he has to eat this whole bowl of just like the most like face frying spice. Uh-huh. And he does.
And Mr. Fong even he makes eye contact with Jeremy, and without breaking eye contact, he like reaches over and picks up a little sack and then undoes the sack and then pours a bunch of red spices into his hand.
Full eye contact.
And then puts it into his bowl and like wipes his hands and then stirs it in, all while making very serious eye contact.
Yeah, he thinks he just swoops in. I get where Mr. Fong's coming from. He swoops in every year. He messes with his daughter, and then he leaves. And it's not fair to Chloe. And his bullshit is bullshit. And I get it, Mr. Fong. And he needs to prove that he's serious. And eating this spicy bowl multiple times throughout the book.
Ooh.
Spicier and spicier.
And a spicy bow at one point. Like, he commits to this.
I think Courtney Milan really describes realistic life really well.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just see how many times I can say real in a sentence. I think 4 times in that one. But, like, she's very descriptive writer. But I really feel like it's true that Jeremy had diarrhea for most of this book.
Oh, yeah. And like hot diarrhea.
Hot, spicy diarrhea.
Those were hot squirts that happened.
Yeah, and I really just feel like Courtney Milan just hand waves the horrible, just like liquid volcano shits that Jeremy was having every night after he ate these spicy bowls. And I didn't appreciate it. I didn't find it to be very realistic.
You wanted him to clutch his abdomen at one point and run off, and you wanted them to hear him groaning from the outhouse. I hope there were outhouses right now. I don't know.
Here's the thing. Mm-hmm. Critics of romance often say that romance isn't realistic enough and is just a fantasy, and it doesn't portray real life and real couples. And this is the problem. This is the problem.
Wow, Courtney.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the problem with modern romance, you know? Which just gives the critics more and more fodder, is what I think. Is not describing Jeremy's super spicy shit.
I have to agree with you, madam.
How do you like that position? Should I tweet that? Like, Courtney Milan is giving the critics more fodder by not writing realistic romance. Do you think I should just write that and just see what happens?
Ooh, I hope nobody takes these quotes out of context.
Whatever. I said it.
Yeah, come for us.
Tell Cersei it was me. Come for us. Describe the diarrhea.
Ooh. So anyway, Chloe's like, Abba, stop terrorizing him. And he's like, I'm not terrorizing. We're just having a conversation.
So good. And Jeremy also will not acknowledge it.
Mm-mm.
He's just like, nope, everybody's fine. Especially me, I'm fine.
Yeah. And he's like, I mean, I love using words when conversating, but I feel like this is fine too. And Mr. Fong is like, we don't need words. We're speaking in generals.
So good.
Oh, it's so good. Okay. So now, what happens?
Is it time for kisses yet?
Yes, it is.
Yes! You guys, these smooches are so good. It's time for kissing.
So they have to go hide the Widgelot.
Yes.
And they've devised this, like, maybe we should go, like, pretend to go for a picnic in order to do this.
Because it's big, you guys. It's
huge.
old.
It's like a rock.
And what they do is they repaint it with, like, heavy iron paints every year. And it gets bigger and bigger and heavier and heavier. Yeah. Which is nuts. In my hometown, we do a very similar thing for our festival.
Tell me everything.
And it's just one small thing every year. And they just redo it every year.
Huh.
And it doesn't get bigger and heavier. Yeah. Hey, Pekinites, we're about to talk about the medallion hunt. Every year during the Marigold Festival in Pekin, Illinois, they hide a medallion. And it's about, I would say, this big. It's the size of a medallion. And they do hide it. And then they put out clues on the city website. They're always in like a poem. And they put out a new clue every day, and everybody goes and hunts for the medallion. And then if you win it, you get a big prize, like a cruise or something.
Wow.
Yeah, there are families that are very serious about this in my hometown.
I mean, I might be too if I got something like a cruise.
But I will say that, like, the clues are very hard to figure out, and they are often red herrings. And so I would say more often than not, the medallion winners are people that just stumble across it in some way.
Oh.
Because the clues are so hard.
And how long do you have for this?
Like during the Marigold
to find
Festival.
it or don't.
It's like 2 weeks maybe.
Oh, there's a 2-week festival in your town?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that weird?
That feels like a serious business.
I don't know. I thought every town had like a 2-week-long festival. Is that not right?
No, apparently you grew up in the Gilmore Girls land.
No. Let's not.
Except with meth.
Yeah, I was going to say. Just as dysfunctional, but for different reasons.
There. Okay. So as they're going, she's like, everyone's already suspicious. Like, you know, we wouldn't want to be seen with each other. So we're going to pretend that we enjoy each other's company.
Yes.
And Jeremy's like, we do enjoy each other's company. Mm-hmm. So like, you can act however you want, but I'm just going to be normal.
Because I love you.
What? You. I love you so much. Uh-huh. Oh my gosh. So during this,
they smooch. They do a smooch, and it's so good. I expected you to interrupt me. You're just okay with me talking about this? They do that smooch.
I'm trying to remember the specifics.
I think this is the one where she like feels like he's drawing characters on her back.
Yeah,
Isn't
but
that
I'm
this?
trying to remember the lead up, Erin. Oh my gosh.
Okay, fine. All right, look through your
I remember
notes.
that one. Oh, okay. So she's like, all right, as we walk, we need to be efficient. So let's talk about the list. And she's like, physical properties. You seem like a guy who's into blondes.
Oh, this is where he talks about her hair length. And he's like, she
Oh.
says, how long do you want her hair to be? And he's like, I want her hair to be exactly the length of your hair, not
When it's
a
down.
millimeter when it's down, not a millimeter more or less.
So how long is your hair? And then she's like, this is a general list and I'm not giving you information about my person.
Because he's
And
never
like,
seen her with her hair down. She always
I
wears a
know.
really tight bun. And he's so interested in knowing how long it is because he's fantasized about it and imagined her with her hair down. And she won't tell him because it's too intimate. It's too much of a
It's too
thing.
much. So after she says, do you like blondes? He's like, Chloe, what about exactly like you? Do you not understand? Do you have blonde hair? Because if not, then no. And she's like, okay, I'll put down brunettes then. And he's like, brunette. I would never
How
call you brunette.
dare.
I want you to write down that her hair looks like, I don't know,
Blue and silver in the light and
yeah,
blue in the
and blue, black,
violet
and the dark, in the shadows,
inky darkness of
beautiful, and it's
words.
so sleek.
He says
stuff.
so much words about her hair, and it's so nice and sweet. Hot.
Yeah, it's so hot. Okay, so then the biggest, most important thing about this scene,
It's the smooch, is it? The
well,
smooch?
is the setup of the smooch, because she's like, Jeremy, this smooch is going to be goodbye. And he says, oh, no.
I forgot.
Any kind of kiss between us is going to be the beginning. The
Hey
beginning of
there.
something more.
Hello.
Yeah, like this is not the end. And she's like, well, then we completely disagree on what this kiss is going to be because you leave. You always leave. And then at some point he's like, okay, well, what do you want in a husband? And she says that's not relevant to our current discussion. And he goes, no, I want a woman who's exactly like you. And so I would need to know how to please a woman who's exactly like you. So Chloe, what do you want in a husband?
I thought this was a later conversation. She says,
Oh.
someone who stays.
Someone who supports me and someone who stays. And then he's like, what's going on? And she says, there was someone at one point that I thought was my, storybook love. And she's like, he was charming and he was wonderful. And it was really great because I'm not very charming with new people. And he looked at me like I was the only person in the entire universe on his mind. And he's sitting there sort of steaming, being like, I hate him.
How
Who is this?
dare he? Why did he break her heart?
And then she says, but he always left. And then she she's like, so I want someone who stays, and her voice cracks on stays. And then she's like, you always left, Jeremy. You always left. And it's been 3 years since you were here. And he's like, oh my God, she's been talking about me this whole time. And I'm
the asshole.
Yeah, I hurt her. Like I expected her to be a little miffed, maybe even mad, but I never thought I had the power to actually wound her.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have to fix this. And so he looks at her and he says, I know that we are in disagreement about what this kiss would mean because I am firm in the idea that it's a beginning. But you know what? Let's just do it anyway. And so he grabs her and then it's like this. She wants it to be.
You guys, this smooch was described with the level of detail of the clipboards earlier. And that's why you just got to stick with it with a Courtney Milan book. It might be clipboards and pamphlets at the beginning, but then you get the same level of focus on the smooches later on. Oh gosh, it was like a 3-page smoocheroo and it was so good. And beautifully described. And she swears she can feel him drawing characters on her back.
Because Hakka and Cantonese have diverged.
Different dialects, but the same
different
characters.
Dialects. Yes.
And
so she thinks
so it's like where they meet in the middle of the two languages.
Jesus Lord. And she swears that one of the characters she feels him writing on her back is everything. But surely that couldn't be right.
So good. It's so good. It's such a smooch. It's such a big smooch that is so romance and so great.
Oh my God, it's so everything. is what this smooch is. God, it's so good. Oh my gosh. And then he pauses and he puts gold.
What?
She wants this to me. Sorry, the characters. Sorry. Everything and then gold. And then, she's trying to interpret them. And she's thinking to herself the whole time, like, I want this kiss to mean I'm staying. I'm staying. And she's thinking to herself, like, he can't stay, though, because I'm just a poor village girl and my dreams are all, commercial endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what to do about that. And she just wants it to mean I'm staying.
And he can't commit to staying either. He is a duke. He's got to go duke.
Right. Okay, so then she pulls away first and he blinks at her. His hand sliding from her back down her shoulders to her elbows before he realized what she was doing and tightened his grip. And she says, you see? He looked down at her, his eyes dark, his breath coming swiftly. His hands tightened around her arms before he reached back to kiss her once more. And then he pulls back a little while later and he goes, I do see. And the realization sank like a shot of lead in her stomach. He had not seen. If he understood how impossible anything further was, he would never smile at her that way. He had not heard what she was saying, only what he wanted to hear. Oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. And she says, Jeremy, that was goodbye. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have opened the book. And he says, I'm no linguist, but I do not think that was goodbye in any dialect on the face of the planet. And then she calls him a turnip. She says, Jeremy, you turnip, think. Oh, it's so good.
It's one of my favorite England Times insults is turnip.
Yeah, same. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he's like, earlier in the book, he told her that he doesn't make the same mistake twice because he did one time tease her by taking away her list and she cried. And he was like, I'm never doing that to you again. And so he goes, I hurt you and I didn't know it. And I never want to do it again in this scene. And it's just the best. Okay, so now Jeremy goes to the barn where her dad is filling the jars because her dad did agree to fill those jars.
Well, so it's an extra 100 jars. She wants to do it herself because she doesn't want her dad to do it because he does have arthritis.
Right.
And so Jeremy's going to help the dad fill the jars. But she instructed Jeremy, do not let him fill the extra 100 jars. We're just keeping it at the regular jar numbers, right?
Well, and Jeremy, I don't even think is supposed to be there.
Right.
But he just goes to see if he can help and also to talk to her dad because he really wants to get on his good side so that he can ask for her hand in marriage at some point.
Yes. So Mr. Fong begrudgingly lets Jeremy help him fill jars even though it is an highly intricate and intellectual task that he might not be up to due to the complicated nature of pouring sauce into jar.
Well, and to be fair, it does take him about 20 minutes to get used to the rhythm enough to actually speak and make words.
Sure. I mean, things do need to be sanitized and stuff. It's not nothing, but it's also not something either.
But all you're doing right now, Jeremy, is making sure the man with rheumatoid arthritis doesn't twist the caps on the jars. That is what you're mainly doing.
So they start talking, and it's very clear that Mr. Fong is not into Jeremy.
No, not into it.
And Jeremy keeps trying to get on his good side. And at some point in the conversation, Mr. Fong is like, listen, I know that you're the Duke of Lansing. So let's just start there.
Right.
And he's Jeremy's like, oh shit. If
He's
Mr. Fong knows, does that mean that Chloe knows? Oh my gosh, did he tell people?
Yeah, how long has he known?
Yeah, it's rough. And he's like, everyone in England who is Chinese, everyone thinks that all the Chinese people know each other.
Well, yeah, that happens later though. This is just
No,
Mr.
he says
Fong.
it here.
Oh,
Mr. Fong
okay,
says this.
Sorry.
It's said twice in the book.
Okay, gotcha.
But he said that he was at some kind of event, right? And saw him?
Yeah, because he's a chef. No. So he was he was being a chef at some point, and they started talking about the Duke of Lansing. And then he sort of he pieced it together because he is the only Duke at this point who is half Chinese. And he was like, after I met you the first time, when they would say, do you know the Duke of Lansing? I would have to say, yes, because I do. And he was like, so before you have any kind of conversation with Chloe, you sort of need to have that one.
Yeah.
And Jeremy's like, I know.
Because he's trying to have this
work up to it."
conversation with Mr. Fong where he's like, I'm serious about your daughter. And,
Mhm.
she's great. And boy, do I praise you for raising such a good daughter. And he's
Yeah.
basically like, yeah, but you're lying to her and have been for 10 years. So let's start there.
Right.
And then we can talk about.
He also says the devastating line, her mother would never have picked you as a son-in-law. You don't deserve her.
Oh, God.
And then he
dad.
goes, there was nothing to say to that. He didn't deserve her. No. They also talk about the sauce because basically he starts talking about the bacteria in the yeast that he needs to make the sauce, to ferment the things in it. And he said that, this is English sauce because he cultivated the bacteria here. It's not going to taste like the sauce he made back in his home village. It's not going to taste like the sauce he made in Trinidad. It tastes like the sauce that can only be made in Wedgeford because the bacteria is from Wedgeford. So no matter what people think, the sauce, no matter how foreign people think the sauce is made by foreigners, this is English sauce. And he tells Jeremy, like, you're pretty much the same way. Like we
and
are.
So is Chloe.
Yeah. So is Chloe. We're all molded by our circumstances and our geography and our life experiences.
It's just this great allegory for like what is British and what is not British and who's allowed to call themselves this or that. Like like this is a homegrown British sauce made by British people who came here by the way of China and Trinidad and all these different places, and that's what's beautiful about it.
Right, absolutely. But he does tell him that I think it's like just like the bacteria he cultivated, Jeremy needs to grow if he's going to be worthy of his daughter someday. And so now he's got this refrain in his head that lasts for the rest of the book that Chloe tells him to stay and Mr. Fong tells him to grow. And those two things sort of become his guiding light for the rest of his character arc. And it's fucking gorgeous is what it is. Oh my God. Oof. And he says, thank you, Uncle. I needed that advice. And Mr. Fong goes, don't wait too long. It gets harder the longer you put it off. Oh, because Jeremy says, are you going to tell her that you know? And he says, I sort of have conversations I've never had with her that I need to have with her. So like, I'm going to start with those before I start spilling your beans.
Because I'm lying to her too. He doesn't say that.
He doesn't.
Like, come on, Mr. Fong, hypocrite. I've been lying to her whole life too about who I am. Everybody's lying to Chloe about who they are. Anyway.
It's true.
Hey, listen.
I think it's time to stop, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think?
That's what I was trying to say.
Fabulous. Look at us being on the same page. Look at this mind meld between two BFFs, We can do
Who
maths.
both notice we're at an hour at the same time. I mean, come on. Let's not make it into something it's not, all right?
All right. Erin, do you have a lady love?
I
have two.
Okay.
One is, this is our gift to you, listener. Read this book.
Read this book.
Read it. Read
this
book. Read this book. Read this book. It's so good.
And if you're having a hard time getting into it, listen to the audio. And listen to it while you're playing Stardew Valley. Because there was a new update to Stardew Valley where there's another island that you can get to if you just fix Willie's boat in the back of his shop. And there's a man on that island that you can fuck. And his name is Leo. So if you need to put in another 30 hours to screw a new guy in Stardew Valley, this is a great thing to listen to while you're doing it.
Get it, Erin.
I've already had sex with everybody in the valley. All right. So the fact that they were like, there's a new man on this island, I was like,
am motivated.
Ready to go. Yeah.
I am orgasm motivated.
It's so hard to fix that boat, though. You need iridium bars. You need a ton of fucking hardwood. It's nuts. The lengths this game is making me go to get to that island to fuck Leo is like insane. If I get there and he's married, I swear to God.
Oh,
if he's not single. Yeah. Well, no, I'm not married. I'm in a domestic partnership with Krobus.
Oh, okay.
Krobus is a guy, he lives in the sewer, and he's kind of like a... Listen, everyone in town is my boyfriends and girlfriends, and then I do live with Krobus, who's like
sewer,
kind of like a
it
dark
sounds like.
man. No, he moved into my house, but we're not like in love because he doesn't feel things like that.
Okay, because he's too dark in his soul.
We're great friends, and we're in kind of like a platonic partnership. He lives in my house.
But you did fuck that one time, it sounds like.
Me and
'Cause you
Krobus?
fucked everyone. Yeah.
No, Krobus doesn't fuck. But
Oh.
everybody else in town, yes.
Oh, so you're saying that you fucked everybody who's available, not
Yes.
the asexuals. That makes sense.
Yeah. No one you can't have sex with married people
Oh.
in the town.
Well,
You can
that's
become
nice.
best friends with them, but you can't have sex with them. But if you're married, you can still have sex with anyone you want.
That's amazing.
That's my lady love.
Incredible.
That new island on the Stardew Valley. Now I'm like really nervous he's not single. I kind of just made that assumption.
Oh,
Now
no.
I'm gonna Google it.
Did you waste all that time doing boat building for nothing?
Either way, I still need to get to that island. I mean,
Yeah, fair. There's got to be more to do there other than that dude. All right. My lady love, while Erin is Googling, oh no.
he's single, but you can't marry him. He's single, but you can't marry him.
You're already
means you
married. It
can't-
doesn't matter. You can still
He's
fuck
a
him.
child. He's a child.
No.
He's a feral child whose parents were lost at sea.
Oh no.
His family is parrots. Oh no.
Looks like no sex for Erin on that island.
No.
You do get to save a child, though. Look how fun.
Gross.
All right. My lady love is a little movie called Abominable. It's so good. What, Erin?
I don't. He has a crush on another child who does happen to be my husband's niece. It's fine. It's all right. It's fine. Abominable. The film.
I had no idea Stardew Valley was so
I can't believe how emphatically I said you can fuck this guy on that island. I can't. Can we cut this?
No.
Child.
You knew that before. You thought that before you found out he was a child. Now you don't even want to fuck him.
No, I don't. Let's be.
Let's get you on the record. How do you
Clear
feel
on the
about
record.
fucking that child?
So Stardew Valley.
It's like a
You're
no.
gonna make a new character? Make it a character I can screw.
Make
Like,
him
what the
fuckable.
hell?
Jesus. Or make whoever it is fuckable. Jeez.
Anyway, Abominables.
Abominable. Okay, so Abominable is a movie that we just watched with the kids. It is a kid movie, but it is so good. So it's set in China, and the main protagonist girl is this like go-getter who is a lot of the times a go-getter because she did lose her dad a few months before, maybe a year before. And so, she's doing the grief thing where she doesn't pay attention to anything. She's busy. And concurrently, someone has caught a baby yeti. And they are bad guys. They've caught this baby yeti. They are bad. Baby yeti escapes. And they do come across each other because the baby yeti ends up on her rooftop. And then the rest of the movie is their journey, these two and then two cousins who live in the same building with her.
Mm-hmm.
The two boys and then the girl in the yeti, their journey to get the yeti back to Mount Everest. And oh my God, it is so beautiful. And it's great because from a production side, everyone in the film who is Asian is voiced by an Asian actor. And there's like a lot of Asian people who are in like the making of the movie side, not just the talent. And it's hilarious. Like Ember and I were literally falling on the floor. Like I fell over a little bit because he launched himself into my arms because he was laughing so hard. There's
That's
this blueberry scene that kills. However, trigger warning. Teensy tiny little trigger warning. This is a very specific trigger warning, mostly to me. So if you, I don't know, lost your dad around 19 and then accidentally heard the song Fix You for the first time in the 2 months after that happened, and were permanently scarred in the best way by the song Fix You. Like just tiny watch out, you know, because there is this beautiful scene in which she plays Fix You on her violin.
Nope. You can do it.
And I was on my living room floor crying so hard. As soon as like the opening bars started, Michael was like, uh-oh. He literally said, uh-oh. Like, watch out for mom. And Xiaomei left the couch to come over to me and like sit in my lap because I was sobbing. She did a toddler comfort on me.
That's
and
nice.
This movie is so good. It's so funny. And if you do relate to this very specific trigger warning, just like, there you go. It's out there for you. Now you know. You can prepare yourself.
But also, like, just kind of generally, I cannot keep my shit together in an animated movie.
Yeah.
I have struggled to breathe in animated movies.
Yeah.
Because I'm crying so hard.
Yeah, that was me.
As we know, I've been removed from theaters.
Right.
Regardless of whether I personally relate to the story.
Yeah.
Just one theater.
Just the once. But like it was
Britannia
enough.
Theater on Britannia in New Orleans.
Yeah, so anyway, Abominable, watch it. It's so good. All right. So you can find us on all the places. Instagram is at Heaving Bosoms. Twitter is at Heaving_Bosoms. We're on Facebook in both a page and a group. We have a website, which is heavingbosoms.com. That's where you can get to the Patreon, which is where we're going to donate all new and increased pledges to AAPI Women Lead. And that's going on until June 10th. So you've got some time. Anytime between now and June 10th, if you sign up or increase, we are doubling those dollars and sending it to AAPI Women Lead. There's also the Reading Embrace on there. You can at us about advertising. There's a form there if you want to advertise with us. It's all on the website. Thank you, Natalie. The website is the best. Also, hire Natalie.
Natalie
makes my life the best it's like ever been. Especially.
Where do they go to hire Natalie? Where do they go?
Oh, justasknat.com.
Just
I hope
ask
that's
Nat.
right. Maybe it's justasknat.co. I'm going to put that in the show notes. Yeah.
We should always have that in the show notes.
I agree.
Let's just put it in the show notes for always. It may be. I don't know.
Agreed.
Hire Natalie. She'll make your life streamlined and better. And she'll do your grocery shopping even.
She will. She'll do groceries for you. She'll buy gifts for you. Like you can hire her on an hourly basis or like just for a small project. She's the best. She'll plan your trips for you. Yeah, it's justasknat.co.
.co.
She'll build you a fucking website that makes you look super professional.
Super good.
Okay.
Do you remember when I ran the website? Do you recall?
I do. You know what?
It was a fucking mess.
It was a website that we had.
That was my, you know what? That's all I had.
And
it was a website.
Yeah. You did it hard.
I did. I don't know that I did it hard, but I did.
It was a website that we had.
What I did was I just said, unnamed sauce is good enough. Slap, slap, slap. Done. That's what I did. Because that's all I had. That's all I had.
Yeah. And then Natalie came in and revolutionized everything. She'll do
you know
your
what?
email.
That's what Chloe should. She should farm it out to somebody. You name the sauce, Naomi. Done.
That's right. That's right. If you are incapable of something, you hire Natalie. And then she does it. Or if it just stresses you out. If you're perfectly capable of something, but it gives you anxiety, hire Natalie. It's so good. Delegate that shit.
And do the Patreon. The website has the Patreon, and then you can do our fundraiser. Okay.
That's right. Okay. So
bye.
Keep being a badass.
Yes. And love yourself as much as you love when an author has the courage to describe
those
hot liquid squirts that hero has every night from eating the spicy foods that
they are
given
inevitable
to him by the father of the
That's
heroine.
Right. That's right. That's
the courage.
That's reality.
Yeah. Describe the diarrhea, cowards. That's what I say.
I'm with you. That cannot be refuted.
Do not send us books where the diarrhea is described. Do not. Do not.
I'm cutting this out of the episode. Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.